50s and dry. I'm KIRO 7 Pinpoint meteorologist Nick Allard.
It is cloudy and 50 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Ursula Royteen.
Subscribe to us on YouTube for our can't miss clips. KIRO Radio 97.3 FM. News and talk, powered by the Pacific Northwest.
The Big Lead is brought to you by 3010 Weight Loss for Life.
The Dori Monson Show on KIRO Radio. This is The Big Lead.
Coming to you from the Carter Subaru studio and streaming on Facebook Live. Welcome to The Big Show. Let's get right to The Big Lead.
The Big Lead. I sense a Dori rant coming on.
It was 24 and a half years ago when I did the first Dori Monson show. Dave Ross was on from noon to 3 on KIRO Radio. Dave was going to move to 9 to noon, and they were going to give the midday talk show to some kid who had never done a talk show before. And so Dave sat down with me on my first day. We did a little crosstalk. And I remember this as if it were yesterday. He asked me, what do you want your radio show to do? What do you want it to be? I said, well, I want it to be entertaining. But above all, I want to be a watchdog of government. That was my stated mission. The first day I went on the air with this radio show. And in doing so, I will always be open and honest and transparent with you. I'm bringing this up because of a story we did 2 days ago. As you know, we broke a story about 6 months ago about King County Executive Dow Constantine. For about 2 years, I had been hearing from King County sheriff's deputies and detectives and other high-placed sources. And they told me that Dow Constantine was abusing his executive protection unit. These are very specialized sheriff's personnel. They have to go out of state for training, and they have to literally put their lives on the line for a politician like Dow Constantine. And the stories we got, corroborated through many public records documents that we obtained, multiple sources, were that Dow Constantine would often, some told us regularly, go out drinking, bar hopping, and use his executive protection unit as his personal ride share. The taxpayers would pay to drive him around. So over the weekend, last weekend, I had a listener contact me, and he said he saw Dow Constantine at a cafe and bar in West Seattle. Wonderful place. Heard great things about it. Caters to my type of listeners. Great blue-collar crowd. Said he saw Dow Constantine drinking with a young woman, and the listener also told me, yes, tell me what you saw in the bar.
Well, it's actually kind of comical part of it. Some of it's a little intimidating. But, me and a few of my buddies after work were playing a very intense game of Golden Tee golf. And
those could get intense, too.
So I had about, 5 or 6 of my buddies, and we were just in the part of the bar there that is kind of separate from the rest of it. Anyways, and I just happened to turn around, and lo and behold, there's Dow sitting there having a cocktail with some young lady. And so I was like, oh, my God, here he is again, just like Dori's been talking about. And so I was like, God, I wonder if his police detail's here. So I walked out to the parking lot, and lo and behold, here's an undercover, black, unmarked SUV, exempt plates, and an officer sitting in the front seat. Well, yep, there's his armed detail just sitting there waiting for him while he's drinking.
Okay, now, if a random listener had contacted me with that story about Jenny Durkin, Bob Ferguson, Jay Inslee, I don't run with it because I don't have years of history that is completely consistent with what the listener told me. Now, where I'm going to be open and honest and transparent with you is in sharing with you that Dow Constantine's office, it's at first they tried to deny that Dow was there. We had a picture of him there. And then they said, well, it wasn't a security detail out in the parking lot. His communications guy, Alex Fryer, sent a email to management here at KIRO Radio. As a former journalist, Alex writes, Alex used to work at the Seattle Times. As a former journalist, I appreciated our earlier conversation about the need for accuracy and our pledge to work better with you guys. So they clearly have indicated they have not worked with us. And he said, this morning exemplified some very real problems with your news organization. Okay, a couple of things there. What I do and say on the radio has nothing to do with KIRO Radio News. Now, some people may conflate that. But the news department is completely separate. My show is about the prism through which I view the world. And as I said, first and foremost, it is to be a watchdog of government. And then they said that was not a sheriff's department vehicle out there. So we checked with the King County Sheriff's Office. It was not a sheriff's department vehicle. It was a City of Seattle unmarked vehicle with exempt license plates with a Seattle police officer sitting behind the wheel. Now, we contacted the Seattle police and said, are you guys providing security for Dow Constantine now? Because that would be very unusual. And Jonah with the Seattle Police Department said SPD never provides security for the county executive. That is always in the hands of the county, even when Dow has speaking engagements with the city of Seattle. He said, whoever the cop was behind the wheel of that unmarked City of Seattle vehicle was probably getting lunch or something. Okay, so that's what Dow's office has told me. That's what King County Sheriff's Office has told me. That's what Seattle Police has told me. So since they are contradicting the information I told you a couple of days ago, first of all, I was wrong about the sheriffs. I assumed an exempt plate with a cop was sheriff's because that was Dow's history. So I made that assumption about him. Okay. Now, personally, I believe Dow and his office are lying because I think he's a very dishonorable person for a variety of reasons. Dow Constantine, we know, has abused his executive protection detail, did so for years. We know that he, in a mafioso-style attack on businesses around Boeing Airport, told them, if you service an airplane that is working with our federal government, you will lose all King County contracts. How do you do that? How do you go to these businesses around an airport that employ good, blue-collar people and say, we will destroy you if you work with the federal government? That's Dow Constantine. That's what he's about. That's the guy who has used taxpayer money to ferry him about to bars for a long, long time. Now, what Dow's office is claiming, because I said I would give their side of it. They're claiming that he got into a ride share after his time at the cafe. I talked again with our source, and our source said, well, if there was a ride share parked right next to that City of Seattle vehicle with a uniformed cop behind the wheel, and I do not know why a uniformed cop would be driving a City of Seattle vehicle, not a Seattle police, City of Seattle, unmarked. I don't understand that. None of this makes sense to me. Now, we've just sent an email to Dow's communications guy, and we said, send us the rideshare receipt. Just provide us the Friday afternoon rideshare receipt. But here's my other message. For years, we've been trying to talk with Dow Constantine. years, when we were researching the story about his abuse of tax dollars with the Executive Protection Unit, months KIRO Radio spent trying to get Dow Constantine on record to explain why. Why are you doing this? They refuse to comment. They will not talk to us. When we broke this story a couple of days ago, Nicole talked to the communications guy, Alex Fryer. We said, hey, do you or Dow want to come on the show? No, we don't trust you. Yeah, I wouldn't like me if I were them. But they can trust me. Everyone can trust me. I'm a very trustworthy guy. I walk around with a halo over my head, for crying out loud. But now they are indignant that Dow took a ride share. Listen, if you refuse to talk, not just to me, you wouldn't talk to our reporters. You wouldn't talk to anybody at the radio station. You've decided that it would be better to just not present your side of any of the stories we've covered. When we've talked about the Boeing Field Mafia attack, when we talked about the ride share, or the using taxpayers as your private ride share. So now they're claiming, in what to me would be an incredible coincidence. And I know a lot about our tipster, the citizen who sent me the photos. I know there's a real good stand-up dude. And I trust him more than I trust Dow Constantine. But in the interest of fairness and honesty with you, I said I'd present their side of things. So getting back to Alex Fryer's email. They said that, here's the last line. KIRO has a fine tradition of news gathering in the Northwest. This morning showed that reputation is at grave risk. Okay. I would assume somebody who got a master's in journalism at Columbia University, like Alex Fryer, I'm sure it's somebody who makes $161,000 a year as a communications guy for Dow Constantine. I'm sure he would understand that there's a difference between news and talk. We blend them here. But this show is about the prism through which I view the world. And first and foremost, I will be a watchdog of government. I will suggest what to me is the tiniest of possibilities. The Dow's out drinking with a young woman at this bar. One thing my source has confirmed for me is that he absolutely, and I trust my source 100%, he saw Dow ducking under a window, running to the vehicle in the parking lot. And then Dow either got in the exempt license plate vehicle with the Seattle cop behind the wheel, or he got into, as he claims, a rideshare. His rideshare parked right next to the City of Seattle vehicle that had been sitting out there from daylight until dark, which can be half hour, 45 minutes, but had been sitting out there for a long time. I simply do not believe Dow Constantine. But to be honest and fair, I wanted to present their rebuttal. But again, I will make this public offer to Dow Constantine. You can come on my show anytime. Being able to talk to your staunchest critic. I got things in common with Dow Constantine. We both went to the University of Washington. We both worked at KCMU, the student station of the communications building at the UW. We have a bunch of stuff in common. But we took vastly different career paths. He went into government and has decided, in many aspects of his job, to abuse the taxpayers. Right now, he is suing the taxpayers over the vote on 976. He wants to overturn a statewide vote of the people. He clearly knows what the will of the people is. And he's trying to find some technicality, anything, to overturn the will of the people. Using sheriff's personnel as his Uber, bullying blue-collar businesses and blue-collar jobs around Boeing Field because he hates the Fed so much, because he loves illegals so much. That's the path Dow chose to take. After I left KCMU, after a very crooked walk for about 10 years, I chose this path. And I decided to watch people like Dow Constantine. Dow, you can come on my show anytime. We got a lot to talk about. All these issues, your executive protection detail, what you did at Boeing Field, now wanting to sue the taxpayers over 976. You have an open invitation to come on this radio show anytime. If they send us their rideshare receipt for Friday, I'll tell you about that too. Because I'll always be fair to the people I criticize the most. But it strikes me that that would be a tremendous coincidence. But here's the bottom line. When you send these emails, when you talk about KIRO Radio being at grave risk to our management about this radio show, about my radio show, I'm very proud of my radio show. I'm very proud of being a watchdog of government. I think the reason that everybody in the media, there's no way I'm the only one who knew about what Dow was doing at night with his executive protection unit. Everybody else, for some reason in the media, decided to give him cover on that. I did not. My show did not. I'm a watchdog of government. And here's my message to Dow. When you send these messages to our management, I will not be bullied. I will not be intimidated. And I will not be silenced. That is the big lead for today.
The Big Lead on KIRO Radio.
Hey, look, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the news. I'll tell you all about it coming up on the Dori Monson Show.
This hour of the Dori Monson Show is brought to you by Insulation Northwest.
The Black Friday Savings Event is on at Evergreen.